You better find it, because I'm counting on you guys for a Frankenstein story.
I'm sorry, you're counting on us for a what story?
For Frankenstein, big guy.
Frankenstein, I didn't think he was still alive. You didn't think. That's right, you didn't think. He was never alive, Schmohawk.
The 1980s. The best era for entertainment, some would tell you. We got classics left and right, but also got some less than stellar comedies and parodies that should have been so much better. Hell, just a quick look at the cast for Transylvania 65000 and it looks like an absolute classic. A beloved parody even. I mean, just look at them. Look! Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, Carol Kane, Michael Richards, okay, so maybe some of these aren't exactly well loved anymore, and for good reasons. But the majority of the cast here were at the absolute top of their game in 1985. Yet here we are looking at the film they all made together under the direction of a Mel Brooks collaborator, Rudy DeLuca. And you know the name of this show, so you know the movie can't be that good. But it's also highly entertaining, possibly for all the wrong reasons. So join us as we see just how awfully good is Transylvania 65000.
Transylvania, all right. Where is that?
Oh, what a name. Transylvania 65000. What even is that? Either way, it came out on November 8th, 1985, just missing the Halloween season, and possibly its best chance at a big box office. Nevertheless, the film, made for just about $3 million, still managed to bring in over $7 million at the US box office. While considered a flop, it wasn't a complete financial failure. It's also one of the rare films produced by a chemical company. Yes, you heard that right. The Dow Chemical Company had money tied up in Yugoslavia where it needed to be spent. And what better way to spend your money than on the budget for this disaster piece of a film? But what exactly is this movie about? The editor of a tabloid has received a tape of what we now know to be called found footage. Two men are attacked and chased by the creature believed to be Frankenstein. And yes, they call him Frankenstein here, when we all know that isn't his name and it's actually his creator's name. The editor meets with his two top journalists, one who's an actual journalist who wants to cover real stories, and his own son who's willing to create a story from very little. He sends them both to investigate this shocking footage in, you guessed it, Transylvania. Our two heroes arrive and head out. And then once they arrive at their destination, it's quickly noted that this place is charming and definitely not filled with people scared for their lives. Our lead, Jack Harrison, played by Jeff Goldblum, saddled up with some of the worst wardrobe he's ever been put into. Or maybe it's the best, I'm not real sure. Right away, his eye is on the one American traveler coming off their bus. A single mom. Oh, you sly dog, Goldblum. His attempt at flirting doesn't go well. A theme here. His buddy Gil, played by Ed Begley Jr., gets roped into helping and quickly gets dismissed, as will also become a regular theme. The two head to their hotel, an old castle with nothing creepy about it, especially not the resident butler who keeps calling everyone master, his wife, or the fact that the mayor seems to live there. Also present is the bellboy played by Michael Richards, who seems to be here solely for physical comedy. None of it landing at any point though.
As you Americans say, we'll have to beat them off with a rake.
It kinda has to be noted at this point that every Transylvanian character has an accent. None of them seemingly from the same region or even country. Once at the hotel, Gil decides to be blunt and ask about Frankenstein. He quickly becomes the laughing stock of the locals. Not to be deterred, our heroes go investigating. Along the way, they meet a puppet, are victim to hijinks from the butler, and don't find much that is useful to their reporting. From here on out, the film just becomes filled with massive inside jokes and cringe-worthy physical comedy. Then we get banter between the butler and his wife. While again, not particularly funny, it's kinda entertaining. The leads have dinner with the mayor, and we get introduced to the best worst ringtone ever invented. As well as this cool yet incredibly cheap monster phone. Everything that happens at this dinner seems to be coming out of left field, literally none of it making any sense. It's a throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks kind of movie. From here, Jack and Gil go investigating, starting with a visit of the filming locations for the found footage that they saw. Quickly, we find ourselves in the shockingly large bedroom of Jack at the castle. Here, Goldblum gets to trade epic jackets for an epic bathrobe while literally moving into his room. By now, most viewers have given up any hope of a coherent storyline. Nonetheless, we get more story. Gil goes to investigate, more characters are added to the already fairly large cast. Then we get a visit at a sanatorium. The mayor and police head are in bed with the monsters. Our heroes get no help from them, and the search continues. The doctor knows more than he's saying. There are files on Vlad, Frankenstein, etc. Gil meets a charming vampire who he may have met earlier. She's sexy, she speaks with an accent, she quotes Bram Stoker. Best of all, she wants him. He doesn't know what to do with her though, so he tricks her into leaving him be. More quality time is spent with the butler, his wife, and the doctor. We find out a little more info, that the doctor is insane and that he has a mummy in a prison in his basement. Young Frankenstein, this ain't. Skip to Jack attempting to romance Elizabeth. Her kid goes missing, a search goes underway. Frankenstein! Or rather, the creature. Gil, having joined the party a bit earlier, has an encounter with him, and Jack meets the Wolfman. Police and the mayor show up and arrest Jack. Gil is at the castle tied up, more hijinks, less fucks given by the audience at this point. Elizabeth breaks Jack out of jail. Her kid is still missing. Kid is safely playing with Frankenstein. We've seen this before. Butler and the wife find him and attempt to subdue Frankenstein, but it's not going well. Frankie eventually takes the kid and heads to town. So many twists and turns. Nobody knows what is going on, including the director, it looks like. Everybody heads into town, where we must show the wine festival. There's some dancing, some fighting, lots of chaos. Frankenstein gets tied up and burned. Things get explained to help skip to the ending faster because at this point, even the cast can't be arsed anymore. All monsters are explained in the way that makes sense. All of them are just people. I guess that's one way for this to go. Scooby-Doo the ending. We get quick shots of the fake tabloid headlines, and yeah, that's the end. Now, how do you make this more fun? Well, booze, of course, so join us for some awfully good drinking games. First up, we've got the Wine Fest. Find a good wine you enjoy, or better yet, a nice red from Eastern Europe, and sip on it each time the wine festival comes up. The Kill Me Now. Oh, physical comedy. And at its worst. Whenever it happens, take a swig of beer or whatever your drink of choice may be. Careful, this one is an ongoing nightmare of epic proportions. The Master of None. Pick a drink you don't mind going for over and over and over and over again. Then take a sip or swig each time someone uses the term master.
Master, master, master,
Master.
The 65000. Each time the phone rings with that awful ringtone, and whenever you see one of the ridiculous monster phones, take a shot. This is not a too difficult one, but when the whole song comes on, go for a double.
Crap is what sells newspapers. Look around you. Crap, crap, crap. Crap, 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 crap.
May I say, I have no problem with crap.
As you get more drinks into you and you inevitably lose focus on the movie, here's a bit of trivia to help liven things up. Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis have co-starred in another nonsensical 80s film, the fantabulous Earth Girls Are Easy. What's not to love with a charming Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum covered in blue fur? The movie was actually the film where Goldblum and Davis met for the first time. They started dating on set and married mid-shoot for Earth Girls Are Easy. Speaking of Geena Davis, she got the part after 40 women were looked at. How did she manage that? Her Bela Lugosi accent. The little girl playing Laura didn't speak a word of English. Speaking of words, there were no lines written for the back and forth between Carol Kane and John Biner in the kitchen. The two ended up ad-libbing the whole thing. The title is a pun on the song Pennsylvania 65000, sung by Glenn Miller. It appears in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. The song for Transylvania 65000, sung by Lee Holdridge, is not quite as good. Both Paul Reiser and Tom Hanks were considered for parts in this, but were rejected by the studio for not being well known enough. Leonard Maltin gave this film a one-word review: stinks. First and last feature film directed by Rudy DeLuca. Currently sits at an 18% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The Swedish title of the film, Transylvanian Vargold translates to Transylvania, please, which, depending on tone, could be all about the quality of the film. Released on Blu-ray by Kino Lorber in 2019, the film's tagline read, "Wanted, two thrill-seeking reporters, brains optional, looking to dig up the story of the century. For information, call Transylvania 65000. Monsters not shown in the film, but mentioned by name, are The Blob, Godzilla, and Creature from the Black Lagoon.
You can't fire me, I'm your son.
Prove it.
Transylvania 65000 is basically disaster piece theater, meaning it's a masterpiece of trash. A film that is a disaster from start to finish. One that anyone looking at the credits would expect so much more out of it. A film that should have been just so much better, yet isn't. Transylvania 65000 is not an entirely bad film. It does have some good to it. For example, the cast is doing all that they can to make this better than it most likely was on paper. The script is clearly a mess, or became a mess during production. There are plenty of scenes that just don't make sense. It has its issues, some of them based around some of the cast and things that have come out about them since then. And some of the jokes just not landing at all. Of course, some of the humor may just not work because the film is almost 37 years old. Overall, this is not a good movie, but it is enjoyable for those that love a good bit of chaos and some fun appearances by some familiar faces. For the general public, this is most likely a 6 out of 10, but we don't use that scale here. So on a scale from Victor Salva to Roger Corman, Transylvania 65000 gets a solid 7 out of 10. With that one behind us, let us know what other awfully good movies you'd like to see us cover, and we'll see you in the next one.
It's all